Hello everyone and welcome to Monster Madness, a podcast dedicated to all sorts of creature features. On this show we will be discussing the supernatural, the undead, giants, aliens, and even sometimes humans because let's face it, people can be garbage. This podcast is hosted by not one, not two, but 3 people. And the point of this episode is to introduce ourselves to you. My name is Erica Gwynn. I've been podcasting for a few years now and have been a part of quite a few shows. I have a true crime pod called The Apex and the Abyss that I host myself. I help research on a missing person show called The Vanished. I do purposefully bad Photoshop art for a podcast called The Cast and the Furious, and I have guest spotted on a show called The Podcast of Terror with Corey Scott and Matt Stein. So my fellow hosts and I love horror movies and came up with the idea for this show based on that simple fact alone. We talk about them all the time, so we figured why not record ourselves talking about them? Maybe other people would like that too. And then the idea just kept snowballing. But before we dive into the details of the show, let's meet the other hosts. Matt, take it away.
Yeah, I'm the other one. One of the other ones, Matt Stein. I actually co-host the show, the aforementioned Cast and Furious, with a friend of mine, Matt Vincent. I also co-host Podcast of Terror. I like long walks on the beach too, candlelit dinners, anything pumpkin spice. I'm
and
okay
White
with
Claws.
chocolates. Yeah, I love White Claws because they're refreshing when it's hot out, and it's hot where I live for 6 weeks. And I've been podcasting for like 13 years. Actually, not quite 10, 9, 10. A lot.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
You learned something today.
I did. Okay, Dan, you're up.
I'm Dan Gwynn, the third host of the Monster Podcast. For me, this is the first podcast that I've been on. I'm a big fan of kayak fishing, craft beers, and watching monster movies and discussing them with my friends.
And that's us. So let's dive into what the show actually is going to be. So you have an idea of what you're in for. Each Monday on Monster Madness, we plan on covering the good, the bad, the obscure, and movies you have never even heard of. On each episode, we will dissect the movie from start to finish, and then we will tell you if we recommend it or not. We will also have a game portion to each episode once we wrap up the film discussion. I will provide the questions, and Matt and Dan will go head-to-head each week to see who will win the glorious bragging rights. We'd also like to note that Monster Madness seasons will each have some sort of theme. For instance, our first season of episodes will feature Universal monster movies and their modern counterparts, or movies that were inspired by the classics. But we will also break from that mold every so often to talk about new movies in the theaters and, of course, our holiday specials. But speaking of specials, that brings me to my final talking point. Featurette Fridays. Every so often we will release bonus content on Fridays that will showcase a written work such as a book, comic, graphic novel, a video game, or an interview from someone within the horror community. These episodes may be short or long depending on the topic, but our goal is to cover the horror genre across the entire spectrum, from the silver screen, TV, to a written work. And with that, I think that just about covers everything.
Now that you've met all of us, we really hope that you continue to tune in each week. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Maybe I'll make an Untapped. Dan and I like to drink beers, so maybe. You can find us on all those platforms, Monster Madness Pod. You can email the show at monstermadnesspod@gmail.com. Otherwise, we really hope that you continue to come back. Thanks, guys.
There are never enough hours in the day, especially at this time of year when nights grow long and to-do lists even longer. Perhaps the greatest gift you could give this year is time. Not time to do, but time to be. Those are the moments Mojabes are made for. So let someone special slide into our 100% wall-lined footwear and away from the fray and the fuss. Visit Mojabes.com to browse our beautifully crafted range of slippers and give the gift of time well spent.